My name is Josh Feedy. I'm the Director of Business Development at Foundry. Foundry is based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're a digital product solution agency. Founders Live asked if we could put together a 6-part video series, and we're thrilled about this. Each video is going to be moderated by our president, Kurt Schmidt, and various members of our team will be joining in those videos. We hope that you find all of them very informative. This first video in the series, I will actually be joining Kurt. We're calling this one Tell Everybody. This is for very early stage ideas, tips and tricks for testing your product super early and using an MVP to do that. Look forward to the discussion in the chat forum on Founders Live immediately after the video. Thanks.
Okay. Cool. Josh, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about telling everyone, right? Yep. And the goal that I really want to focus on is the advice for founders about when they should be talking to people about their idea and about how they're going to, and their plans for how they're going to do what they want to do.
Right. Yeah. Don't keep it to yourself, right?
Don't keep it to yourself. Because I think one of the things that I've experienced a lot, especially at Foundry here, is that we have people that have very innovative ideas, very interesting, out of the box, all the metaphors you can think of.
Right.
But they're very nervous about somebody stealing the idea or getting out, right? What's some of the advice that you yourself would give a potential founder of a new organization about how they should be approaching that?
Yeah, honestly, the first thing I usually say is get over yourself. Nobody's going to steal your idea, right? Nobody honestly has time or the energy to steal your idea. Nobody's going to be as passionate about your idea as you are, right? And if you're really going to take something from that early idea phase and see it all the way through, you need to have a passion for it. So the chances that you're going to run into somebody on the street that could potentially use what you're building, who would also be as passionate about it as you are, and take that plunge, pretty rare.
Yeah.
So tell everybody, get their initial reactions. I mean, the early days, this is the really important. This is the most important part as far as I'm concerned, right? Ideas are, everybody has ideas. Ideas are easy, right? The execution is hard, but why put yourself through the trouble of execution if you're not even hearing from people, oh yeah, that sounds great.
Right, I would use that.
I would use that in my business or for my personal life or whatever, right? So get that first.
Yeah, I think I still see it because we work with a lot of organizations that are even going through accelerators and all these things. I've seen and worked with startups that have been at it for 2 years, and people are still questioning the business model and whether or not it's still a sound thing. So if you wait to start telling people, you could be wasting a lot of time to find out that nobody's actually interested, or maybe if it just pivoted a bit, you would find an audience for what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, and many times in those very early days, your idea, it'll be informed by your own personal experience, right? This is something that'll solve a need for me, and it's very, it's almost closed-minded in a way, right? This is exactly what I need, so this must be the solution. The more you discuss that with other people, the more you realize, and this has happened to me personally, I'm sure this has happened to you, we're both founders, where what you originally set out to build, you later find out that piece that you thought was so critical is actually a very small piece of the puzzle. And the other things that your idea or your product were going to solve for now became a much larger piece of this puzzle, right? And so that knowing that up front, that really shifts the direction you're going to be going, right? Because it could be a dramatically different product at the end of the day. So yeah, I mean, listen to people, listen to what they're saying, get that early feedback from them, and really, just nod and smile. Right. It's still your idea.
Exactly.
Yep.
The other thing is that what if, and we've experienced this before, what if I have a great idea, Josh, and I start doing some research and I find that somebody else has a similar thing out there.
Oh, no.
And so maybe I shouldn't move forward because I found maybe 2 or 3 other people trying to solve this problem. What would be your advice?
Yeah, don't do it. No, I'm kidding. That's validation, right? So the fact that somebody else is doing it means that that is a challenge that people are trying to solve for. So I don't see that as a negative at all. I don't think anybody should see that as a negative. Now, if you see a million companies doing the exact same thing and you're not really changing anything about it at all, then maybe walk away, right? Know what you're getting into a little bit. But if you're in a position where you want to spin something up, there's maybe 3 to 5 companies that you've identified that are doing something very similar, but you have a unique value proposition and you're going to be doing things slightly differently, and you think that by changing things in that way, you're going to better serve that market, go for it. You already have your product validation.
Right.
I mean, how do you feel about that? What would you do?
Yeah, for me, it's I'm very similar. Mind is that if I believe truly that I have a better way of solving this problem, I don't care if there's 1,000 other people out there doing it. They're not going to do it the exact way that I envision in my mind, right? But yeah, to your point, if I'm not bringing anything new to the table in this space, then yeah, I'm probably not going to move forward. But if I can figure out what that new space is, and the great thing is that I've seen people, very successful people, go and start talking to those people. Like don't look at them as if competitors.
No.
They could be a resource for you to help jumpstart.
Could be a potential partner.
Yeah, they could also tell you about some of the pitfalls they got into and some of the things that they've found ahead of time. You'd be surprised. You think other people might be very standoffish because you're entering into their space. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, you'll see that a lot with large corporations such as, let's say, HubSpot, for example. HubSpot is, I think now they're number 2, but they were number 1 CRM for a long time. Now Salesforce is saying they're number 1, so I don't know which one's number 1. Regardless, they're very supportive of products that enhance their product, right? So if you go to their partner directory, they help those groups out, give them that exposure to enhance their product, right? Those are the kind of companies, if you're building a product that you align with what they're doing or you enhance what they're doing, again, don't hide it from them. This is part of the tell everybody, right? And this comes later in your product phase. This is way beyond the MVP stage, right? But this is when you actually have the product. But yes, tell them. They're not going to steal your idea.
Yeah.
I mean, they might, but they're probably not. They have a product roadmap that they've already planned out. They know what their 5-year plan is. If what you're doing doesn't fit into that 5-year plan, you're going to accelerate them getting to that point to help those customers with that challenge. That's a positive to them, right? So, and I know that, later in this series that we're doing, we're going to be talking about more of the development stack and how you can, choose the right development language based on who your potential acquisition partner is going to be, right? So we'll get into that more in this series, but that's a big part of this as well is, identifying, is this going to be a potential acquisition? Is this going to be my baby for years to come?
Right.
What am I going to do with this? You can start to decide those things early on as well while you're doing that research into who's out there, what's out there, what am I competing against? Is this greenfield? What are we doing here, right?
Yeah, because again, there's 2 different ways. If you're building a lifestyle business, you're going to make very different decisions than if you're targeting Amazon to acquire you. Or a health company or whatever thing is. You're going to make very different decisions, and you're going to need to talk to some very different audiences, right? If it's more of a lifestyle business, you've got a pretty strong network probably out the gate because you're probably solving for people within your community or whichever, right? Or your industry. But if you're going more for that acquisition space, you've got to pony up next to those individuals that are in those companies and start building that network because you need to figure out, am I solving this problem that I know you want to solve for your customer base?
Right.
And I'm going to do it over here on the side, and you're just going to pay me later to solve that problem for you.
Absolutely. No, and I think another thing that I wanted to quickly touch upon while we still have time with this is going beyond just the having discussions and the idea phase. Right. So there's no reason with the availability of open source softwares right now, technologies out there, that you can't put together something that at a minimum you can test with somebody. Right.
But you can fake it, right?
Absolutely. Right. WordPress, Squarespace. I mean, there's
Google Docs.
all kinds of Google tools, right? Exactly.
Yep.
Hodgepodge together whatever you have to in that early stage. Create a rudimentary version of what you want to ultimately create. Now, this is not going to be your final product by any means at all, right? But this is something you can test. You can have some friendlies in your group test. There might be some manual components in the background that other people don't see. They feel like this is a very digital process, and they feel like this is a real
it
tool.
It feels like a SaaS product, but it's all
Exactly.
it's all levers and pulleys behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
It's the very the Wizard of Oz sort of approach,
Exactly. Don't look behind the curtain. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. But, do that, right?
Because you're
Get
proving
that
the
product
business
out.
model then, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
You have people using it. It's not the idea of what they think you're creating that they're grabbing onto. Now you're actually giving them a physical product. They now know exactly what you're trying to put out there in front of them, and they can test out in their real life, in their business, how this will help their business grow, right?
Yep.
And you're going to get much better reactions from that than just having the conversation. So
Right.
very early on, that's my number one recommendation. Get something pulled together, and there's no excuses here. There's too many tools for it.
Yeah.
If this is a physical product, there are 3D printers. You can do that, right? So get something in someone's hand very early. Test from there. Listen to what people say. Go from there.
Yep. I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining today, Josh.
No, it's been great. Thanks,
Appreciate
Kurt.
it. We're looking forward to talking to everybody in the chat after the show. So we'll see you then.
Thanks.